like, okay, these guys, I know they get paid to say certain things and they talk about certain things and sometimes they hit it on the head with some stuff, but at the end of the day, it's on us to change that.
We'll have an NFL game today, 3:40 p.m. in Pittsburgh. 10-0 Steelers hosting the 6-4.
All right, I know y'all ain't tuning in to listen to me, listen to a bunch of bull crap on WIP or nothing like that, right? So I'm going to just start talking. It ain't going to be long. These are just a few thoughts that I have on the Philadelphia Eagles and the state of that, and where I think we're going to go. And then I'm going to say something briefly about the Sixers later, because actually today is the first day, the start of their training camp, and I'm really looking forward to the Sixers, man. First of all, with the Philadelphia Eagles, what can I say? What can we say? The situation is very convoluted, and everybody has their opinions on what they think the root cause or the root problem is, and whatever. I'm going to give my opinion. If you agree with me, I would appreciate a like, subscription. If you disagree, let me know why. I don't know everything, and I'd like to get some feedback, and maybe some of you can get me to think about what's going on. Personally, I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles have a root problem. And then from that root, everything else kind of trickles down. All right, let me put it like this. The way the NFL today, with the majority of the teams, structure themselves, I think is fundamentally flawed. And the Philadelphia Eagles are kind of experiencing that. They haven't really got there yet, but they're kind of experiencing that. And that is, the blueprint is pretty much like this. The quarterback tends to get most of the money. I'm not sure the exact percentage, but it's a very large percentage. You got guys right now like Patrick Mahomes, who signed a contract that gives him almost $50 million a year. I know it'll be 40 something technically, but almost $50 million a year. You got Deshaun Watson that actually making more than him. He's around 40 something, $45 million a year. Then you got the Aaron Rodgers, who's in the 30s, and Carson Wentz is one of those guys right now that's just entered a year where he's in the 30s in terms of his salary. And what that does is, because there's a cap, as we all know, there's an amount, there's a limit to what you can pay your team if you're an owner. The quarterback gets most of the money, so the rest of the money you got to prioritize. Okay, am I going to emphasize offensive line? Am I going to emphasize wide receivers, running back? Am I going to put most of the money into the defense, etc.? Right? So, and most of the money gets real complicated when guys are in their fourth and fifth year after this rookie deal. The initial rookie deals are sweet, right? So teams have to do one or two things. You have to make sure you got the right freaking quarterback, and then decide you're going to put money into, I guess, the line, protecting them, which is, I think, what the Eagles try to do. And they try to emphasize the most important thing on the defense, what they think is their defensive line, so they try to do that. And the rest of the money kind of gets sprinkled here and there. You see a great wide receiver, you get it. You got a bad one, you kind of jacked up. You need a cornerback here and there, you sprinkle a couple dollars. So it's that sort of thing. And I think the Eagles are having trouble with that because of one reason. And that reason is the quarterback is not playing well. The quarterback is not playing well. When the quarterback doesn't play well, I'm going to tell you what happens. When the quarterback is playing bad, the wide receivers suffer. It looks like your wide receivers aren't good. Looks like they're crappy, they're not getting open. Personally, I believe Travis Fulgham has proven to be a good wide receiver. I'm not going to sit there and say he's DK Metcalf. I'm not going to say he's, DeAndre Hopkins. That would be just ridiculous. Nobody is those guys. But I think he's better than 2 catches for 30-something yards like he had the other night against Seattle. I think he's better than that. Jalen Reagor, no matter how much you love Justin Jefferson and everything, Jalen Reagor, I believe, is a quality wide receiver who can be potentially what the Eagles thought he could be. I think they were looking for a guy that's more so in the mode of a Tyreek Hill, because they believe, right, that the team to emulate is the Chiefs. And though I'm not really into emulating particular teams, I get why they got Reagor. They're looking for a guy that in this offense will get that yak, I think, the yards after the catch. That's what I think they were thinking about. And then also, picking Reagor was influenced by the failure of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who has the skill set, in college anyway, of the sure-handed, big-bodied possession receiver. And I think the Eagles think, okay, you need one possession guy and you need a big play guy. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was a failure of a pick, especially when you consider the fact that McLaurin, who went to Washington Redskins, came after him. And then, of course, DK Metcalf, right? That's the guy everyone's going to bring up. But there were others, too. Right? So, because of that failure of Whiteside, they were not going to go with a Justin Jefferson, because then they run the risk of running into the same problem. You know, you got this guy who can't get separation, can't get open in the NFL, technically. Though it appears that they were wrong. He is able to get open. He is able to, fend off defenders and everything. Justin Jefferson is a better player than Whiteside, right? So there was a mistake on the part of Howie Roseman. However, I'm still not certain that Justin Jefferson is necessarily better than Jalen Reagor. What's happening is, because Carson Wentz is playing bad, because he's not catching his receivers on time, because he's not throwing to them accurately, consistently, because he's not reading the defense as well, and he's just completely out of it, bugged out. What happens is, there's the assumption, because Justin Jefferson is putting up all these numbers, the assumption is that Jefferson is better than Reagor. That could very well be the case, but there's another possibility as well. And that possibility is that Justin Jefferson's quarterback is playing better than Carson Wentz. Like, Kirk Cousins is throwing to him, first of all, throwing to him, that's number one, and throwing to him accurately and on time. Okay? Those things do matter. Now, the one thing I will give Carson Wentz is our offensive line has been inconsistent. Right? Has been inconsistent. Carson Wentz is the most sacked quarterback this season, and that is something you have to consider. However, many of the plays, many of the sacks are Carson Wentz's fault. His refusal to throw the ball away, his not settling for the check down, his not deciding to just run the hell up out of there at certain times, protecting themselves properly. This is a major part of the problem as well. Personally, I believe Carson Wentz is the reason. Now, the one way you resolve this, which is really what I want to get to, is you sit Carson Wentz. You sit Carson Wentz. What does sitting Carson Wentz do? Sitting Carson Wentz allows us to actually evaluate Doug Peterson and evaluate the wide receivers, right? Because we need to give up this idea that Carson Wentz is our best chance to win and we're still trying to win the division. There's nothing he's shown us that tells us he's the best chance to win, that you'll just straight lose with him anyway, right? So if you throw in Jalen Hurts, for example, and you have him run some of the plays, some of the timing routes and stuff like that with the wide receivers, and he's not able to do it, then you get to be able to kind of look at Doug Peterson. Is it really the fact that he's not doing all these misdirection plays and picks that are allowing all these guys to be open all over the field, which to me is a myth. Anyway, that people think that, a quarterback, that coaches come out here and just design all these plays, and then everybody else in the NFL is doing it and he's not. I think that's nonsense. Okay? There may be something to it here and there, but I think that's nonsense. My problem with Doug Peterson is he doesn't run the ball enough. I think that's where Doug Peterson, there's a legit argument against him. But this stuff about his plays just aren't creative enough. No. Let me tell you something. A coach is not going to be calling all these creative plays until the quarterback successfully executes the simple plays, until the receivers successfully execute the simple plays, until the offensive line properly executes the simple plays. Right? Why am I going to do this old crazy cross route, this and that, all this kind of stuff, when I can't even get a simple out or a simple crossing pattern completed? Right? It doesn't make sense. So in order to properly evaluate Carson Wentz and to properly evaluate Doug Peterson and to properly evaluate these receivers and the line, you need to put Jalen Hurts in the game. One thing I didn't notice from that one damn pass he let Jalen Hurts do, and this is actually indicative of all the plays Jalen Hurts actually passed on. Jalen Hurts gets rid of the ball. He gets rid of the ball. Now, what I need to determine is this who Jalen Hurts is? Is he a guy that gets rid of the ball fast? Or is it just the particular plays he got were so simple that it was easy for him to do so? That's what I want to be able to tell. And that's one of the reasons I want to see Jalen Hurts in the game. It's not just about, okay, I think he's better than Carson Wentz or whatever. He very well might be, can't be much worse. But really, I want to be able to evaluate the rest of the team. So that way I can, by process of elimination, really determine, okay, the problem is really Doug Peterson and not Carson Wentz. Or the problem really is Carson Wentz. Or the problem really is just the receivers, whatever. Right? That's how you'll be able to do that. And even if you want to go with Nate Sudfeld or whatever, you need to put someone else in there and see how they run the offense. And if they run it better, then we know it's just Carson Wentz. My gut feeling is that it's just Carson Wentz, really. Like, I don't believe this stuff that 2017 Doug Peterson was just all of a sudden calling all these great plays or Frank Reich was doing all that. I don't believe that. What I remember from 2017 was not a well-oiled machine offense. What I remember was a healthy offensive line, a great running game, and a quarterback, Carson Wentz, who was ridiculous on third down. That's what I remember from 2017 when I look back at the offense. It was never this powerhouse 1988 49ers or the greatest show on turf Rams. It was none of that. All right? So that's what I see happening with the Eagles. And I also have this fear that Doug Peterson will end up being a scapegoat and end up being the guy that is going to be held responsible for it all. And the reason is he won't fucking bench Carson Wentz. What he needs to understand is that Wentz is the one that'll get you fired. Right? But then there's also the theory that Doug Peterson doesn't care if he gets fired because he knows his resume is impeccable. He won a Super Bowl and he'll probably get another job, which is also true. So there's a lot of things we got to do. If I'm Jeffrey Lurie, I'm keeping Doug Peterson, and Carson Wentz is the one that's on notice. I'm going to tell Doug Peterson, all right, well, what can we do to fix this, Doug? What offensive coordinators do you want? Do you want us to get rid of Schwartz? Whatever you want to do, I would accommodate Doug Peterson. And if he wants to go with Carson Wentz, he feels he can fix him with different coordinators, then we'll go with Carson Wentz. If he feels as though that he could work with Jalen Hurts, we'll go with Jalen Hurts, trade Carson Wentz to one of these teams that wants to work with him, and actually you'll be in a better situation money-wise, financial-wise, if you get rid of the Carson Wentz contract. I think paying these quarterbacks all this damn money is a mistake. Unless you got Patrick Mahomes, then he's worth it. At any rate, the Philadelphia 76ers. First things first, I love everything they did, and this is my first time addressing it. Sorry about that. Doc Rivers pick, perfect guy to pick up. He has the resume, won championships. I think he'll be able to work with Ben Simmons, as Doc was a point guard himself. He brought in Sam Cassell, excellent move. Brought in Dave Yeager from the Grizzlies, who used to be the coach there. Excellent move to work with Joel Embiid and also help with the defense. He's an X and O guy that focuses on the detail, actually a little bit more than Doc does, and that's great. Doc knows what he's good at, and he brought in other guys that can actually help to fulfill that. The areas where Doc may have somewhat of a blind spot. I love the whole staff as a whole. I believe the Philadelphia 76ers has the best coaching staff in the NBA right now. So that's kudos to Josh Harrison. Josh Harrison, he capped us out like, with the help of Elton Brand, we got us capped out. But what he did was he said, okay, I can't spend money on players anymore like that. I'll spend money on front office. And that was a great move. So we brought in Daryl Morey, which is good. Elton Brand can actually learn from Daryl Morey. So I still believe Elton Brand is the long-term guy here. Daryl Morey will come in, fix something, man. Maybe we can get some, maybe get a championship out of what he's doing. I like his moves. He basically did some logistics of the team, looked back at when the team was at its best, and he saw that that's when you had Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons as the core, and you surrounded them with shooters. Now the team will be in a better situation here because your power forward will be Tobias Harris instead of Daryl Sarge, right? Harris is just better than Sarge, so that's a good move. I also like picking up Danny Green, the defensive guy who can also shoot the ball. You got Steph Curry, one of the best shooters in the NBA. You grabbed Broken Hoff, I forgot his name or whatever, but he's another shooter. Some of the draft picks, I'm going to do a whole thing on Tyrese Maxey coming up. I love the pick. A lot of people were shocked that he fell to 21. He's a guy that was projected to be possibly top 15, you know what I mean? So that's a good move. We got him. To me, he's a guy that got some dog in him. Can shoot the ball if he needs to. Shooting ain't his main thing. But to me, the greatest players in the NBA aren't the pure shooter guys anyway. Right? The greatest player are the guys that can kind of do a little bit of everything. Right? Those are the guys you kind of build around. Nobody builds around just a shooter. Steph Curry, isn't just a shooter. Right? So I like that move in Maxey. Well, right now we say I'm over 15 minutes. I'm gonna be out on that. But that's what it is. Till next time for Last Speak, I'm out.